Okay. Well, I think it's a good morning. I'm
It
Rayford
is.
Brown,
I'm Lee Barrows.
and it is Friday. It
Yay.
is
Yay, it's Friday.
weekend eve. It begins what? When does the weekend officially begin? At noon on Friday? That's when everybody seems to go home. They're supposed to
Sounds
be
good to
working.
me.
So that's the
Sounds
way
very
things work.
good.
Anyway, we're waiting for Kelly, but we got to get started here. Got a whole lot of things going on.
Right.
Good morning. Welcome to the last day of the first month of 2025, also known as February Eve.
Wow, can you believe January?
In 11 months from today will be New Year's Eve. Christmas will be behind
Right.
us, and we will be smack dab in the middle of the midterm campaigns. Geez, just when you thought we were safe, they're not that far away. People will be filing at the end of this year, and then it's off and running again. Politics, and
I
more
think we're going to see
politics.
changes too in 2026. I think we're in for some surprises.
Oh, you think so?
Yes.
What kind of surprises?
Like political parties switching. In other words, somebody that's held a seat for a long time is
Oh,
one
you're gonna be-
party is going to get thrown out and somebody news. I see that coming.
I'll tell you what. With some of the garbage that's going on in Capitol Hill right now, I'm
Ooh.
going to bet that with the shenanigans during
Hearings?
these hearings right now,
Ew.
their people are not going to forget that.
I'm tell you what, Patel.
Oh, he's a fireball.
I'd vote for that man for anything.
Oh, yeah.
I'd vote for him for president. He's very impressive to me because he just sits back and like he had this one senator that's saying, according to this report, you made this comment. And he goes, you're taking it out of context. Why don't you read the rest of the report? She
Hmm.
goes, well, if I had 5 hours to do it, I would.
Hmm.
He goes, well, I suggest you read the whole thing so you'll understand what my comment was. And she goes, well, I don't have the time. She goes, I need to get back to answering you, asking you questions. And he was like, well, you've got 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
Have at it.
I read about
And he
that.
was just, he was just laid back, like, and
It's a matter of fact.
yes, there was people questioning him and going after him. And this is what kills me about these hearings. There is no need for the attacks.
Mhm.
Ask your question. You're not going to get the answer you want because you've already got this preconceived notion in your head that you don't want an answer that's going to conflict with the way you feel about things. Ask your question,
Get
get
it
your answer, move on.
and
But this
quit politicking and campaigning and playing games.
fighting.
Yeah. Either you're going to vote for him or not. Why are you grandstanding? That's all I got.
Oh, I thought Bernie Sanders was going to have a heart attack yesterday.
For any of you, why do you grandstand? I don't care what side of the aisle you're from. Quit grandstanding. Because this is your only claim to fame, is when you can be up here for this. Oh, good gracious!
Well, I want to tell
need
you
to
what,
get a life.
RFK and Bernie Sanders. I thought Bernie Sanders was going to end up just having a heart attack sitting right there because he was going on and
Was he?
on and on about stupid stuff. This corporation, not wanting to say corporation or an organization, it was a nonprofit that RFK used to be very involved in. He's pulled away from it. He admitted it. And there's a lot of things in any organization that you can agree with the way it's run or the things
Or
that
you
it's done,
don't
or,
like it.
or you don't like it. You're not in favor of it. It's just like any group. You have your amateur radio club.
Yep.
Y'all might have a meeting. You might have a resolution come forth and let's take a vote on this. And Rayford, you could say, no, I think this is dumb, and you vote
Yeah, just
against
kicked me
it.
out of the club. They did that.
Well, think about it.
Just kidding.
That's how things go. And so, but anyway, this organization had put out onesies, babies onesies. And on it is said something about not taking the vac and blah blah blah. I'm going to live. I don't remember what it said, but Bernie was having a meltdown
Oh, good for
over
him.
it. A meltdown.
What's going to matter about what happens in the midterms, that's next year,
Yes.
more than anything else, to determine who stays and who goes, will be how the people like us, how we, the voters,
Mm-hmm.
how we decide whether Donald Trump is good during his first year in office or not this time around. In his first 10 days, he stirred up a hornet's nest, that's for sure. And he's created a lot of positive excitement among Americans. That's one of the things I've noticed. I hope we're not let down. I hope the
Not
people
either.
in this country who are like, hey, this is what we really wanted him to do. We told him these are his marching orders. And now he's saying to other people below him and people he works with, these are your marching orders, not from me. I'm just a messenger. That's what he should say. That's the direction of travel he should do with every executive order, with every move that he makes. Folks, you may not like it. I might not even totally agree with it. If I don't agree with it enough, I'll just not do it. But if I agree with it, these are your marching orders, not from me, but from the people in this country.
Right.
Because we gave him marching orders. The majority. I'm not speaking about me. I'm speaking about we, the majority. The majority of people in this country gave him marching orders. Whether you voted for him or not, the majority of the people in this country gave him marching orders. Whether
Yeah.
you're a Democrat, Republican, or me,
That's right.
the
That's
majority,
right.
the majority have spoken. Now, shut up. Move on. Democrats are scurrying to get on his good side. Have you noticed that?
Oh, yes.
That's the funny thing. Some hardcore radicals continue doing things that undermine Trump's presidency as best they can. That's what they're trying to do. He's adored by, I think, the majority of the folks there on Capitol Hill right now. He's thought to be a thorn in the side of misnamed progressives. They call themselves progressive. I think that's a misnomer. They're not progressive. They're obstructionist.
After what I've seen the last couple of weeks, some of them I have to agree with you on that.
The atmosphere these days is much like it was back in the days when we actually enforced the immigration laws. Remember, you don't remember those days. You're too young. But we actually used to strictly enforce immigration laws. Illegals, those who were in this country illegally, they would hide whenever the police, any police, anybody in uniform with a badge, didn't matter who they were, if they showed up, they did not want to be deported. That was their biggest fear. It used to be the fun thing among cops. I just need to get me a raid jacket from ICE. Just one of those little flimsy little vest things.
Oh,
so that anytime I need a seat in this particular restaurant in Wilmington that was always very crowded at lunch, I would put one of those loaded with a lot of construction folks there, right? I'd put my raid jacket on, walk in there. They'd go out the back door. I'd have plenty of room.
you better worry about who's cooking now.
That was our big joke.
You better worry about who's cooking.
It hasn't reached that, but it's likely to get there. Illegals with criminal records are being rounded up. They're being shipped back to their home countries. Some are going to end up in a little place called Cuba for a while.
Mm-hmm.
These are criminal elements. Did you miss what I said? Illegals with criminal records.
Right.
Not just in this country. If they ended up in this country illegally and would not have been allowed to come in this country because of their criminal history, we never did allow everybody here, right?
Right.
If you were a bad person in Italy, we didn't want you here either.
Well, we've had these laws on the books for how many years? Forever. Ever.
We're rounding them up and hopefully we're shipping them back to their home countries. In some cases, their punishment may be severe when they get there. No different than a wanted American who hides out in a foreign country. Mm-hmm. Do you know who a guy named Eric Snowden is?
Yeah, I heard all about that yesterday. That came up in the
Eric,
news.
my man, he worked as a contractor for the Central Intelligence Agency. He was a low level, way down, but he managed to get into a computer system, and he carried a little flash drive with him, which now they have to work naked in the CIA because they don't allow flash. And they will X-ray your body too.
I say something real quick about the flash drives. Mm-hmm. Usually a government agency like that, if you have flash drives, they give you a special flash drive that can only be used on and can't be recopied or whatever. What happened there?
No, this was 10 years ago or so?
Yes.
Anyway, he managed to download a bunch of stuff, took off.
Yeah,
absent without leave he was.
AWOP.
AWOP. Went directly to Hawaii first, and then on to other countries. And now last anybody knew anything about it, he was in Russia. If I ever got aboard an airplane, I don't care if it was going from here to Charlotte, and I saw Eric Snowden on it, I would get off that plane before I left.
You need
Because
to.
somebody might be willing to take that entire plane down to get to him.
I'm right there with you. I'm right behind you. Just look over your shoulder. You'll see me.
But this guy, a wanted fugitive, do you think we will take him back? Yeah, because he's an American citizen, because we would like to have him back. But why would somebody, another country like Russia, why would they want him there? Well, why? Because they can beat the stuffing out of him to get the information they want. He doesn't have much in his brain. All he had was what was on the drive.
True. He was not a high-level, top-level employee.
It's be just like now, if we do find a criminal like him, and another country does say, hey, you're not supposed to be here, they ship him back to the United States, guess what's going to happen? We're going to arrest him. Mm-hmm. Depending on his crime, he's going to face prison time. He could be in prison for life. That's how important it is to some of these criminals who are here from other countries not to go back to their countries. Why is that skin off my back? Why do I care what kind of punishment they're going to get in their countries? I don't care. What I care about is the garbage you're bringing to us in this country. Okay, I think I'm through. Not really.
Stirring up my blood pressure again. Let me see what I'm at. One thing real quick, I want to go back to when we were talking about the elections in 2026, and you're probably going to see a lot of new blood. People are getting smarter with all this that has happened, with the political comeback of the century, and all this other stuff being uncovered, like the downfall of DEI and what it's done to some of our organizations. I believe in equity. I believe in diversity, but I also believe, as Charlie Colley, that there has to be a point that you do not forget somebody that has the merits, that has worked hard, and that's more qualified. You don't push them aside to put somebody in because of their color of their skin, or because they have mental issues or physical issues.
We're doing away with that.
Yes, exactly.
So for at least 4 years, that's going to be a done deal.
And there's a lot of talk with the FAA over that, because I've got a copy of a memo that they sent out too, and we'll discuss that later. Yep. But real quick, what I wanted to say before we go to Charlie is, going back to the hearings yesterday, RFK brought up a point, and if you were listening, he hit the nail on the head. He had a lot of those senators that were going after him, claiming that he was going to try to make big money off of pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that. And they kept on badgering him. He said, you can't tell me that there's probably not just a few of you that have never taken money from pharmaceutical companies or health insurance agents companies for your election. And you know what? I wanted to stand up and say, hallelujah, Jesus. He's absolutely right. I can tell you right now, I know of a congressman, if you go look on his campaign financial reports, you see where all these medical companies have given him money.
Okay, for you guys who want to do some checking for people who for Congress.
Yes.
That includes the Senate. Congress in general is the House of Representatives and the Senate.
Right.
If you want to check on those, if you want to check on them in North Carolina, do the same thing. You can go to their financial pages.
That's right.
You can look and see who contributed. Now, when you look and see that Joe, Billy, Bob, Sam contributed, you need to do a deep dive into him, a minor deep dive, and find out who he works for.
Right.
Because sometimes corporations will channel money through an employee or somebody else to a candidate because they don't want their names on the books.
That's why you have lobbyists.
Good morning, you are local. What you up to?
Hey guys, two very quick things. Yes. I have something either on Epstein Island or the DEI hirees at the Reagan airport. So which one? I can make the Epstein Island very quick.
I know a little bit about Epstein Island. I've been by it several times, but go ahead if you want to quickly.
So Bill Gates is 69 years old. So I'm not 69 years old, but if somebody offered me a plane ride to an island, the first thing that would go through my mind was, wow, that's odd. I can afford to buy an island, but I'm going to go to this island. And if Bill Gates saw a female, a minor, and he said to himself, you know what? That girl looks like she might be like 16 or 17. Why is she on this island in the middle of what's going on here? I'm an old man. Why is there a child on an island serving me drinks and talking to me like, she enjoys me or likes me? Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, and you're making a lot of sense. But here's what occurs in a lot of situations like that I've seen. Okay, and having been around the modeling world quite a bit, 14-year-olds are dressing and looking like they are 23-year-olds.
Amen.
We see that on a regular basis.
You're justifying it.
No, I'm not justifying. No, I'm not justifying it. A 23-year-old is too blasted young for a 68-year-old, 60, whatever his age is.
Right.
Okay, so I don't care about the age there, but the legality part of it, that's what how they will justify it. She looked like she was 23. Yeah. No.
I can't imagine it. At my age, going to a house, in Montana, a friend of mine who's got maybe a cabin on a little island, I'm like, why is that girl serving drinks? She looks young. Why is she here? I would be freaked out, disgusted by it. These are absolute monsters of humanity. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Absolutely.
And they need to suffer the consequences.
Absolutely. They thought they were on an...
They're pedophiles. They're effing pedophiles.
And they're in an area that they did not think jurisdiction for anybody applied. Okay, what's DEI? We got about 3 minutes. And then you might want to listen at 7:30 this morning because I got a special call we're making to somebody that used to fly that same route Black Hawk was flying, but he flew it with some very important people on board. Extremely the most important people on board. And he flew it on probably hundreds of times, but we'll talk to him in about 10 minutes. So what you got about DEI?
Just very quickly, I just did a little bit of research about Trump made a comment earlier today. He said they're probably DEI hirees. Yeah. Immediately, the left media said, oh, he's making fun of blacks. He's making fun of browns. No. White people are part of the DEI hirees. Some of them are. In January 14th, 2024, there was a memo from the Biden administration. And they said something about, remember Biden's FAA DEI hiree? He could not answer a single question about aviation.
Saw that.
You guys probably don't remember that? Okay.
I do.
Maybe you've got... Okay. So here's what the Federal Aviation Administration said around January 14th, 2024. They said they're actively recruiting. This makes me laugh. Yep. They're actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. No, it gets worse. This is the last thing I'll hang up. Targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism.
Yep.
Yes, you're exactly right. And the FAA's diversity push included focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities.
That's what he just said.
Yes.
Now, that's going to come to be very important here when we're talking with the gentleman here in a couple of minutes, simply because of the requirement for an air traffic controller at certain times, and 9 o'clock in the evening was one of them, on many days of the week, to be able to do multitasking like you would not believe, and to be in charge of a lot of lives like we saw the other night. That's going to come to play. Just sit back and wait for that one to happen very soon. You bring up a great point, Charlie. Great point.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you guys are my favorite show. I'm not going to call in for a long time, but anyway, good luck. I love this show. I have no clue why I like this show, but I really like this show.
What are we doing? Spread the word.
Well, we're just ordinary people.
Well, nobody listens to me. So,
all right, Charles. Saw you. Bye.
Thank you. Wow.
Before we get too far in, 2 people have been arrested after a fire in Jacksonville 2 weeks ago. They now face murder charges.
Murder.
Firefighters responding to a fire on Arlington Court found a man inside the home, 28-year-old Michael Thomas. That's not right. Thomas Michael Torrance was taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. Two other men, 29-year-old Anthony Daniel Dasha McKinney and 27-year-old Kennedy Shamika Rowe, were originally charged with arson and felony conspiracy. McKinney has numerous felony convictions already, including narcotics violations with the Department of Corrections. Rowe has convictions of larceny and forgery up until now. The victim had a lengthy prison record, including selling narcotics. After further investigation following the fire, detectives drew warrants charging both of these other men with murder, concealment of a death, larceny, and altering or stealing or destroying criminal evidence. Don't know what that was. We'll find out when all that is released. Both men remain confined in the Onslow County Hotel without benefit of bond. All right, we'll do weather, and then when we come back at about 7:30, I do have a gentleman. I know him very well. Known him for a bunch of years, and he's he's retired now, but he is I don't want to call him an expert. He doesn't want to call himself an expert, but he is an expert because he's flown that same route that the Army Black Hawk flew the other night. It's a standard route, and he says the pilot did nothing wrong. Got a gale watch in effect from this afternoon through tonight. Offshore, southwestern winds 15 to 20, gust up to 30, seas 4 to 6 feet, building to 5 to 8 this afternoon. Near shore, 2 to 4 footers, building to 4 to 5 this afternoon. Sounds and rivers choppy. Tomorrow, northwesterly winds 10 to 15, becoming northerly 15 to 20 in the afternoon. Gust up to 25 knots, seas 5 to 7 feet. Near shore, seas 4 to 6, subsiding to 3 to 4 in the afternoon. Sounds and rivers a moderate chop, increasing to choppy. Easterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas, sounds and rivers a moderate chop.
And today will be partly sunny with a high near 74, winds 13 to 18 miles per hour in the afternoon, and winds gusting as high as 30 miles per hour. Tonight, showers late, mainly after 1 a.m., low around 51, gust as high as 26 miles per hour. Saturday, sunny with a high near 65. Saturday night, partly cloudy with a low around 37. And Sunday, mostly sunny with a high near 61. Nice weekend.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a nice weekend.
The rain's supposed to come in late tonight and then be gone by morning. I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm glad I washed my truck the other day. Jesus.
Yeah, they're still looking for a gentleman who escaped from the Craven County Jail. It's either Sunday or Monday. They're not sure which yet. So they're looking for him. And he had been in the Onslow County area when he was arrested back in June. He shot at some deputies here. He was wanted in Craven County for attempted murder, I think, and that's what he was in jail
Shooting
for,
at
waiting trial.
deputies.
And he's the Marshal Service is helping. And now don't go looking for this dude, but if you got information on where he is, go ahead and turn it in. They got a $5,000 reward for it. If you know where he is, call me.
Crime Stoppers. Yeah. Well, yeah. Call
The
us.
U.S. Marshal Service has got a $5,000 reward up for his arrest. Let's see what we got. A couple of minutes here. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of speculation yesterday about him being seen in the Hubert area. So,
Well, there was
Just
speculation, and that's
speculation.
all it was.
that's right. A lot of air traffic. So it's
But they got helicopters
speculation.
over in Hubert all the time. They call the Marine Corps.
Yeah, but this was supposedly, allegedly different. So if anybody has any information, let us know. But
Mhm.
it was pure speculation. So, but he is from the Hubert area. So.
Yeah. Yeah,
They could have been looking for drugs. I know that they do that a lot.
They do.
State sends a helicopter down and
Oh yeah.
they ride the helicopter and they'll travel over your backyard if you live out there in the
Also,
rural.
one of the interesting things about looking for illegal stills, is the chopper, depends upon who's operating it, that helicopter,
Right.
he'll drop right down because they build these whiskey stills underneath trees and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And I've been on board when we drop right down very low, and there's a thing called rotor wash coming off of helicopter blades, and it will part the leaves down below, and you can see down below. You cannot imagine how many deer are scared up when that bird drops down kind of low.
I had somebody that worked with the sheriff's office. This was a while back that used to ride when they'd go do their stint riding
Uh-huh.
with the helicopter, and it come fly over my house, and I could actually talk to him back and forth that low, and I'm like, okay, you can go now.
You're kind of low, dude.
Kind of low. Go ahead.
Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Let's see. I
You'd
was
be
gonna try to
surprised the
confirm something here.
stocks they found and brought in. Woo.
Oh yeah, well, that kind of stuff shows
I don't
up.
think they spend a lot of time doing that anymore. They're
No.
after the hard stuff now.
It's as profitable as it once was.
Right.
But they can get down. What was funny was people planting pot in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah.
And they would plow down. They might have 30 acres of corn. And then right smack dab in the middle of it, they'll have like a half an acre of pot plants growing. Well, when they first start growing, they're fairly small.
Mhm.
And they do not blend in with the
Mhm.
background. If they planted one among every 10 corn stalks, that would be one story, but they would carve out an area so they'd have a whole small area there. It was to me kind of funny. But
I can remember them bringing in stalks and stalks that they had wrote together into the post office to have them weighed, because they like to use our big floor scale, and just pieces and falling all over the floor, and carriers scooping it up like they were getting gold. And I'm like, oh, stop.
Yeah. Okie dokie. What else we got cooking here?
Yeah, well,
Okay, I may as well go ahead and get something.
Yeah.
You got some stuff to talk about? Because I got to make a phone call.
yeah,
how about
I can certainly find something to talk about. Pam Bondi, why
Oh,
are they
yeah.
holding off on voting on her?
Because they don't like how aggressive that she is and assertive that she is and how she will
She's
take action.
she's my hero. I'm gonna tell you that right now, because she stood up to them and she didn't back down. And I think she's a very, very intelligent woman. But they had her hearing, and then they had their little talk, and that's a whole nother subject I'll get on in a minute. But and then they decided to hold off for 7 days. Well, 7 days is up. 7 days was up yesterday, day before, and so they started back in on the hearings. But for some reason, they are doing their best to take that final vote on her, and I think enough is enough. Let's get it done. Trump needs his people.
Something's got to be done. I just don't. I don't quite understand what the big holdup is either.
Right.
So we will do it. Let me just see if I can't make this phone call very quickly.
Okay. And another thing I'll say real quick is, with the president putting a freeze and telling people in the federal government, giving them a chance to resign and go early.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. Okay. We're going to be talking about this collision a couple of nights ago. Commuter jet and an Army helicopter over Reagan National Airport there up in Washington happened just before 9 o'clock. Generated all sorts of speculation. This PSA Airlines was flying contract for American Airlines. It was a CRJ something 700. I think it's a small plane, but it's still a big plane. It's as big today as a lot of the airliners that we used to fly on back in the 60s and 70s. The Army Black Hawk was on what is referred to as a helicopter route, flying about a couple of 100 feet above the ground. On the line with us right now, a person that I know pretty well, Steve. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Rayford. How are you?
Do I have to call you Colonel this morning?
No, we'll stick with Steve this morning.
Okay, good. Steve, I appreciate you talking with me yesterday. That was fun and unexpected. You called, and I was glad you did, because I learned a lot more about this thing after speculation from all sorts of people all over everywhere, and I'm like, I was trying to understand it. Steve is a retired Marine, but he's also a human being that speaks English to people like me, who understand English and not some of the other stuff. I can speak ham radio talk, but some of the stuff that you guys deal with in the air, I did not understand. Even watching it Wednesday night, all night long, yesterday. And so I took after I talked with you, I took a brief hiatus from it, because I knew I was going to be talking with you today on the air, and I appreciate you joining us. There are lots of questions, and a lot of people have things. the helicopter, what we commonly know as a Black Hawk, was assigned to an Army unit at nearby Fort Belvoir, right? You've been there, I'm sure.
That's right. Yes. At Davidson Army Airfield. Right.
Yeah, and you flew out of Washington area, Quantico, and you did all sorts of stuff. But you had a long time. You've flown that same route. It's a special route for helicopters, right?
That's exactly right, Rayford. I'll start this by saying, first of all, terrible accident, and my sympathy, my family's sympathy, and condolences to all those who lost their lives.
Yeah.
That would be thing number one. The thing I'd like to do perhaps today is, everybody says don't speculate, so I will not speculate.
Thank you.
But maybe share a little bit of my experience. I flew those routes a lot, probably hundreds and hundreds of times in that Washington, D.C. route structure in the 80s and the early 2000s now. So it's been at least 20 years since I've flown them, but they haven't changed a great deal. So, yeah, plenty of time on those routes. In fact, I would sort of advise your listeners, if you're interested in what those routes look like, pretty easy, go to Google and type in Baltimore, Washington, Hilo routes, and you'll get a very nice map, a graphic that all the pilots fly with all the checkpoints, altitudes, routes, and you can see exactly what the helicopter guys were flying on Wednesday evening.
Now, the helicopters, when they're flying these routes, they're okay to fly down at lower levels than typical flying over populated areas, right? I know fixed wing, when I'm over a populated area, doing pictures and all that stuff, sort of goes, I have to get special permission to be able to fly.
Yeah,
at lower than 500 feet, I think, mostly.
Yeah, in fact, it's quite the contrary. They are required to fly low, to adhere very, very carefully to those altitudes. In fact, the altitude, and I've got the chart up, or I'm looking at it, between, basically on the east side of National Airport is 200 feet and below, and that's where the helicopter is supposed to be. And of course, some of the graphics that were coming out Wednesday night didn't really make a lot of sense, but a lot of the graphics now on the news do start to make sense, and it really shows, the helicopter's route, and it shows the airplane who had kicked out to the east, basically approached from the south along the Potomac River, and then at some point, the ATC would tell him, you're cleared to land on 3-3, which causes him to make a slight right turn, maybe a 30-degree right turn. He kind of goes over Bolling Air Force Base, then makes a slight left turn to line up with 3-3. Essentially, then he crosses the Potomac River, headed northwest, lined up for 3-3. And obviously, the problem was the helicopter on the same route was southbound, 200 feet and below on the east side of the river. And those are essentially, obviously conflicting paths. I've heard a lot of discussion about the helicopter was maybe a little bit high and where the airplane was. But one thing I would point out is the clearance has to be really issued by the tower, or the conflict warnings has to be issued by the tower. So both airplanes really should have known, where the others were. One of the things I noted is the snippets that we're picking up on some of the recordings seem to be right before the collision happened. I'd be very interested in hearing, and it'll all come out in the investigation, what clearances and what warnings were issued well before that, if any. Hopefully there were some. But when was the airplane cleared to land? That clearance that he received, were there any warnings associated with that, referencing the helicopter? There was going to be, a jet in front of him. Will all come out in the investigation, but I haven't heard any of that in any of the little snips of radio that are coming across now, on the news.
All right, we're going to straighten out a couple of things. First of all, that helicopter was not at Reagan Airport and did not take off from Reagan, right?
No, in fact, I've heard a lot of reporting. They talked about so absolutely not at Reagan. I've heard people say he was working out of Bolling, but the next morning, in fact, I have it in front of me too. You can go to airnav.radar or something like that, and pull up his route. He entered the route structure up at Cabin John, which is way up north, 10, 15 miles northwest of Washington. And essentially, it's a very standard point. It's where 95 crosses the Potomac northwest of Washington. And then his route of flight was what they would have called, he would have asked for a Route 4 and a Route 1 down to Fort Washington. And Route 1 actually takes him down the river, down the Potomac River to get to downtown, to get to Haynes Point and the tidal basin and all that. And he starts out at, I think, 1,000 or 1,300 feet. He's descending, as he progresses southeast. And there are several bridges there that you check in at, and with very specific altitudes. But then when he basically goes over the tidal basin, he's at 200 feet, and then he's going to the east side of the river and southbound. So yeah, he checked in. His flight path is really easy to see on some of the internet recordings here from Cabin John.
Yeah, we hear. I've heard some things like, okay, these guys they got night vision goggles. Why couldn't they see the airplane ahead of them? Well, night vision goggles are a problem when you're flying, right?
Yeah, I would say honestly, I would not choose to wear. Washington D.C. is lit up like a Christmas tree all the time. The airport, the city, everything. There's just too many lights, and the goggles tend to bloom out. They're not terribly effective over a well-lit urban area. So, and I don't know. They may have had them in the helicopter. They may have been using them. Don't know. But they probably would not have done, even if they had them on, they may have been more harm than good. Just because it just amplifies, you got too much light in front of you anyway, over a bright city, and it just makes it way too much light now when you put the goggles on.
So how can a pilot on a helicopter, as he's approaching, and he's on the route that he's on, 200, 250 feet, whatever it was, and a plane is coming down over him, why can't he see that airplane coming? It's kind of bigger than the helicopter, right?
Possibly can, and again, that we'll get into. We won't speculate part of things, but if he was cleared on the route and perhaps not advised that there was a jet. I mean, that route, when he's cleared on it, he would expect it to be clear, so he can operate 200 feet and below, and cross the extended center line of runway 33 southbound. If he's not told to look for something, he may or may not be looking. And unfortunately, at the point of impact, he's looking south. The helicopter guys are looking south down the river. The airplane is kind of coming from their about 10 o'clock position because he's coming from. So it's not directly. The airplane was not directly in front of them at any point. Just based on the geometry that you can see on some of these graphics.
So he's flying at pretty much a level flight. The plane is coming in, and it's on an approach. I mean, it's coming down. It's on its way down, land at the airport.
Exactly right.
And that's the way that plane's got to come down. So when he gets there,
cleared the land.
Now I heard a clip of the radio traffic, helicopter, whatever the call, pack something or another. Do you see? Can you see that kind of stuff? We heard that. Do we have any idea which radio channel that was on that we were listening to? And do we know whether the helicopter was listening to that channel?
There are two channels that the controller in the tower at National will use. He'll use the basically the airport frequency 119. I think it's 119.1, and then there's a separate helicopter frequency that all the helicopter guys operating around DC will operate. And it's a good question because depending on time of day, I mean, my experience is there could be two controllers, each one controller running one frequency, which is controlling the airport traffic, the jet traffic to the runways, and another controller controlling the several helicopters that are in the Washington, D.C. area on these routes up on the north side, police helicopters, all that. Now, oftentimes you would hear one person running both those radios. And basically when the tower person keys, he keys on two frequencies.
Okay.
So the jets can hear and the helicopters can hear. But the problem possibly is because the helicopters are on one, the helicopters will not hear the jet's response, and the jet will not hear the helicopter's response because they are on two separate frequencies.
Okay. So we don't know that until we get all of the recordings. We'll have recordings from both channels, no doubt, at some point in time. NTSB will, right?
I would suspect, yeah. I'm sure both those channels are recorded, so they'll pick all that up. What happens is, news and different aggregators, there's a lot of services you can go to listen to, tower channels on the internet.
Sure.
Typically, they would listen to the tower channel at National, but probably not to the helicopter channel.
Got it.
That's a little bit.
They listen to the main stuff out there. We've heard some stuff. Okay, these helicopters, why weren't they flying on automatic pilot? Why didn't they fly instrument? So, I'm sure everything is instrument rating, but is this standard procedure, or is it not such a good idea to be flying by only your instruments when you like Reagan?
The structure that I spoke of has been established and flown. Like I said, I flew it from 1983 on, is very, very established. There are probably hundreds of helicopter operations adjacent to and near both National Airport, Baltimore, Washington, Dulles, and it's all very, very integrated. And so that's just very standard for all the helicopters to operate, and it's worked for long time. It's worked fine. So yeah, you wouldn't typically, if you're going to go IFR, you'd be up at altitude doing a whole different thing. But
sure.
Those helicopters the police helicopters, the military helicopters have to access different places in Washington. So they're not on an IFR flight plan. They'll be using this route structure that might get them then up to north of Washington. There are several zones up there. They call them the police zones. So if the police are operating on the northeast or northwest Washington, they'll call into the tower and tell them, hey, I'm operating zone 3, and there'll be altitude restrictions for them up there. And then to transit, they'll get on this route structure and just move around Washington on these predetermined routes.
I've been up in planes, and I've been on a boat, of course, at nighttime. And when it's very dark, and you've got about 1 million lights shining at you of all different colors, reds, greens, blues, oranges, whites, you pick one. There are lights up there. And when you're flying, either flying or in a boat, there are two lights you're looking at, red and or green. And if you're looking at red and green at the same time for a boat or a plane that's coming at you, or the only place you can see them is somewhere off coming at you. Of course, right?
Boating, really with airplanes, the most important light is the anti-collision light, that blinking red light that will call your attention to something out there. And then if you're able to see, to be quite honest with you, the red and green lights on the wingtips are very difficult to see.
They are. So
what you're really looking is the anti-collision lights. Maybe something's out there, but it's pretty hard to get oriented until you can kind of lay eyes on him, see what direction you think he might go in relative to you. You probably figure that out by your eyeballs way before you'll be able to see the red and green lights. But you're right. It's a sea of lights out over an urban area like Washington, D.C. And, for the jet guys, they were on approach. They were focused straight ahead. It's a short runway, so they kind of have to concentrate pretty hard on getting it down at the approach end. They can't float, short runway. So they're pretty focused on staying on a glide slope and getting the airplane onto the approach end of the runway, and not really, once they're cleared for the approach, they'll assume that there's nothing in front of them and nothing in their way.
Sure.
That's what the clearance means to them.
Yeah, well, at the flight aware stuff that you sent me, I looked at their track, and at some point in time, they were coming down, and they were down to like 375 feet and coming down fairly fast, obviously, as you're heading for the runway. You don't want to spend a lot of time up that high. You're going to miss the runway. So their focus, as you say, is going to have to be just on that, I would presume, right? So the pilot of the jet, that's about all he could do, is plan on putting that thing on the ground and then keep it between the ditches.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what they were. My sense is, I'm a helicopter pilot, not a jet pilot, but my sense is they were focused fairly well straight ahead and not concerned with things that may or may not have been off the side. And that's why, honestly, still want to wait and hear what the full tape, the transcripts and the audio, sounds like, what warnings were given, well before and then just before the accident. It'd be interesting to hear how that goes.
I'm sure you hear the air traffic controllers when they're talking to other planes too, because they may be talking to you as well, or to the helicopter pilots. Is it often that in the last couple of 3 minutes that a fixed wing coming in for a landing is told, can you take the other runway? Because there are two there that they were in dealing with, right? 1 and 3-3?
Right.
Okay. And if they're on
and it
one,
like when I looked, the preferred runway is runway 1. That's the long runway. So you just, for them, it was a beautiful VFR night. So, but at some point, and again, it'd be interesting to hear the transcript, they would have said, you're cleared for the approach to 1 circle to land on 3-3. And from the graphics that I'm seeing, well south of the Wilson Bridge, which is probably 3, 4, 5 miles south of the airport, he had already started his right, that slight right turn that I described. He has to offset. He has to go to the east now and then kind of fly up over land, over Bowling Air Force Base and DIA and all that, and then make a left turn to 3-3. But he had already, it looks to me from the graphic like it was not a sudden or a sharp or an unexpected turn. Looks like he absolutely expected that, set up for that, based on the track that you can see.
So it must have been sort of normal procedure. I would.
I mean,
it could happen.
They're trying to use 2 runways. In fact, I think in some of the video you saw a big set of bright white lights coming off the runway, and that would appear to be something departing on runway 1. And so what the controller has to do is, he wants to get that guy off runway 1 because runway 3-3 intersects that. So he has to get, the takeoff traffic through across runway, on runway 1 takeoff across runway 3-3 before he can let the traffic on 3-3 land. So they're trying to manipulate really, 2 runways just to make sure there's no problems, with airplanes operating on the 2 runways. But it gives them flexibility to get 2 airplanes off, the same time you could get 1 off for landing.
So
by using 2 runways.
Yeah, I try not to speculate here. And you've done a great job of not speculating, unlike the folks that I've been watching on TV, the what ifs. But what you've given us are just the facts. Now, an investigation is going to show what actually occurred, and if something went wrong. I mean, we all know that because that's not supposed to happen. But my goodness, that. I wonder how long it's going to take.
I mean, by definition, a mid-air collision, something went wrong, obviously. So they'll have to sort all that out, and it's human nature to try to speculate and wonder what happened and who did what to who. But it'll be very, again, everybody says, and we'll just keep saying it over and over, want to listen and hear what all the facts are and how they came together. And,
now,
see how that plays out.
On these flights that you were taking on this same route, and yes, I understand probably may not have been as busy in those days, but I do remember as a little kid going up and sitting out there and looking at National back in the day. And my dad said, the idea is they take off, they send out one plane and take in one plane every minute around the clock in those days, is what he said. That's a lot of airplanes.
Yeah. National is very, very busy airport. There's just no doubt about it. And again, you add to that all the local traffic, the helicopters, spinning all over DC, and these routes that cross the runways. They all have to be deconflicted very, very carefully. In fact, when you listen to the air traffic controllers, literally they are just talking. There's very little. You got to work hard to get your request in. Listen carefully. When there's a tiny little break, you tell them who you are, where you are, and where you want to go, and they're quick to come back to you, and then they're back to working the runways.
airplane or in-flight of crash avoidance systems. We've heard so much about that over the years that airplanes, commercial airliners are equipped with it. So when another plane is in its path or coming close to it, ding, ding, ding goes off, right? Warning, warning. Is that the same thing in a close area like at Reagan? Because I mean, every plane's close to each other there, right?
Yeah, and I'm not terribly familiar with, because TCAS was, I mean, we were just starting to get it as I was flying. So, I'm not, and I know that it's inhibited. There are certain inhibits on the TCAS. In fact, I just read this last night. Below 1,000 feet, you might get a warning, but you'll not get a resolution. Resolution being TCAS will tell you climb, descend, turn right, turn left to avoid the traffic that it detects. But below 1,000 feet, which obviously both these airplanes were, it won't give you. It might give you an alarm, but it won't give you a resolution.
So,
because obviously, if you're below 1,000 feet, you can't tell a jet will descend more, because there's nowhere to descend into. So, I don't know specifically what TCAS warnings they may have had. I just don't have a good. I'm not really well calibrated on that.
So even if the jet was equipped with a warning, it probably would not have done very much good there. And if the helicopter, which we don't even know whether they're equipped with them or not, do we?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I agree with that. I don't know whether they had TCAS or not. Now, everybody seems to have this thing called ADS-B, which reports out to air traffic control. It appears that both the helicopter and the jet, and I think everybody operating in the Washington D.C. airspace has to have this ADS-B, and that's how you get these reports of what altitude and what their position and airspeed and all that was.
All right. Okay, and you flew this route hundreds of times over the years, and you're talking about going back to the 80s. Now, you flew with some precious cargo, so you were kind of, you had to know what you were doing, right?
I would say yes to that. Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll let people figure out.
Yeah. In fact, those routes were just pounded. We studied. I mean, that was kind of the part and parcel of how you operated up there. See, we had to know not just the routes, but we had to know all the Washington D.C. intersections and checkpoints, check marks, all that sort of thing. But the routes were completely memorized, and again, you flew them nearly every day, and they were very routine to fly. The reporting points, the altitudes, all that were very routine.
Quite often when you're flying these routes, there may be 2 or 3 of you flying together, right? So you had to watch out for each other as well. Wow.
Yeah. We could do it in formation. That's right.
Interesting. Okay. I've got two co-hosts here, and they probably have a question or two. Since I've dominated it, I needed to get some of that stuff on the record. Kelly or Lee, you have questions?
I think you pretty much answered the one question that I was just going to bring up, and we didn't want to interrupt. But I do have one question. I understand from hearing it on the news, et cetera, and media, that Reagan is a very hard airport to fly in and out of. Do you feel like they say you'll have to have special training as a pilot to be licensed to fly in and out? Is that true?
It's my understanding that the answer to that is yes, but I'll reiterate, I'm a helicopter pilot, not a fixed wing or a passenger jet pilot.
Right.
I do know just from flying into Washington that there's some challenges to that, because you have the restricted airspace to the north. So that's why they fly, if you're landing to the south, they fly this river route, which kind of twists and turns down the Potomac River. And then you have a fairly kind of an interesting hard turn, a right turn to make to get lined up with runway, I guess it's 19, I think. And if you've ever flown from the north into that, you'll note that the pilots are kind of maneuvering pretty low. So I think, there are probably some special training and some special qualifications that they have to operate in and out of that airport.
And so the military, not necessarily, correct?
These are commercial pilots.
Right.
I would say, if there are military airplanes landing there, they would also have, similar training. And again, I don't want to necessarily speculate because I don't know their particular training requirements. but I would say because it's a little bit of a challenging airport, it's in pretty restricted airspace.
Yeah.
The thing you don't want to do is if you're coming either directions, coming in from the south or taking off to the north, because you got the White House and prohibited airspace directly to the north of the airport. So everybody has to avoid that. It's a big deal if you bust into the prohibited areas. That'll get you a lot of attention that you don't want.
Do you think that this incident is going to cause rules to be put in place that are going to completely change the flight path the military will now be allowed to use with helicopters?
My first answer is I don't know. My second answer would be that route structure has been in place, as I said, since the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It's worked well. It's practical. When, as long as everybody adheres to it and the procedures and the processes, my sense is it's very safe. I'll be honest with you, when I flew it, I never, and we would, you'd fly it at night, fly it in bad weather. Never, you just had to be heads up, and everybody had to be talking and watching and looking, and you couldn't really take a nap while you were flying in that airspace. But as long as everybody was heads up, it worked fine. So the short answer is I don't know what they'll do. There may be some reaction in that respect, but again, have to wait and see.
Yeah,
How they handle that.
you don't know whether it's going to be a flight path problem because the helicopters are generally restricted to about 200 feet on that route as you're approaching Reagan. I know that. I saw that. And,
the other thing,
and fixed wing can't go there.
Well, the other thing I'll point out is that, and again, avoiding speculation, is that where those two airplanes came together, even if you said the helicopter, let's say he was exactly where he should have been below 200, the jet, maybe 400 feet, about where he would have been on the glide path to that is not adequate separation. Nobody would have said, that's okay, let those two guys cross, because 200 feet of vertical separation is a near miss. That's a near miss. That's a bad day. Not as bad as when they collide, but it's still a near miss. They have to have, they would have had to have had some horizontal and lateral separation to make that a safe operation, which clearly they didn't.
And if,
do.
And if the helicopter got behind the jet, or the jet ended up dropping down in front of the helicopter, there's a thing called coming off of that jet, some stuff that would make it a little difficult to fly, would it?
Yeah, wake turbulence would, but again, as long as, and I think you heard the controllers say, pass behind the regional jet. So what a helicopter guy would do was, knowing that there's a wake, he would separate himself enough to avoid the wake turbulence. Yeah. But that's very common for the controllers to say, pass behind that guy. Then it's up to you to figure out whether, you pass by a mile or 3 miles or some safe distance to avoid collision and to avoid the wake turbulence. That's just something pilots sort of do in their head.
According to the flight stuff that you sent me, the collision occurred somewhere below 475 feet, it looks like. So that would have been a indication that the plane was coming in, because it was at 400, that it was down to 350, then it was, even lower than that. I think the last indication was three something, but it was coming down.
375.
375?
Yeah, with the last B was 375. And I think there's a little bit of delay. That's not a continuous transmission. So that it may have been 10 seconds after that. So he might have been at 325 or something like that, which isn't that far from 200 if the helicopter was at 200. So,
okay.
So that would not have been adequate separation. Nobody would have called that adequate separation.
No. All right, Steve, will you guys be careful? Be safe.
Thank you for all that information.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was good information.
We do appreciate everything
Very
there.
interesting.
And thanks for not speculating. We have enough of that. Thank you.
Yeah. You all take care. Have
You
a great
too.
day.
That was fabulous. That was a fabulous interview.
Steve is 28 years in the Marine Corps. Okay, most of that
Right.
time he was flying, and he flew a lot. As we've had him in here before, he was a command pilot for Reagan, and he also was in charge of that Marine One unit for a number of years under Bush Jr. HMX-1. So he has flown that route, like he said, hundreds of times.
Yes.
Reagan is an interesting airport, and it is a busy airport. You fly in. And
I
out of
fly in
there.
and out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm
know,
starting to
all
second
this-
guess that thought.
See, it's only 6 hours driving.
I know.
All this right before she's ready to fly out again.
I
I'm
know,
like,
and it's 6 hours, but it's 6 hours. It's 6 hours time wise. But once you get up, almost to Fredericksburg, you sit on 95. That's why sometimes I'll just fly into, and Reagan is where I fly into.
So now you're thinking.
Now
about-
I'll just sit.
might be-
I'll just sit in the car. Yeah, I'll sit on
Flying-
95 and complain.
let me
yeah.
tell you what. Looking at 95,
Yeah,
there are more fatal accidents,
I know.
wrecks on 95. I caught myself on that one. There are more fatal wrecks on I-95 than there are fatal crashes at
which is
Reagan.
why I would fly
Duh.
into Reagan. I've even flown into Reagan in a snowstorm.
Mhm.
That was not a fun.
I wouldn't have done
experience.
that.
Because all I could think of was that 1980 crash.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So, ugh. But
anyway,
anyway,
getting back to the collision, and I just feel like from what I've been watching and learning, and especially with what a lot of what Steve has said, and what I was discussing with you this morning, Rayford, before we went on, I just feel like it's kind of like a domino effect. This one was too high. This one was over here. This one was that. Air traffic control didn't specify the one at your 10 o'clock,
we
or
don't know what
whatever.
he specified. You heard one channel,
That's what I'm saying. Though.
and they
did
were
he
on
specify
two
anything
channels.
else?
I was getting to that too.
He's on the
It's
other
just
channel talking to the helicopter on a separate channel.
yes, but I just think that we're going to. It just appears to me to be a domino effect of this was not in the right place at the right time. This came into so many things, and I think that's what we're going to find out. But I
Well,
still
you-
think
you-
communication.
You've got also the helo route that he's talking about. That helo route is not used just by military.
No, yeah, no.
It's used by every police, every news team, and they've all got helicopters. The EMS services, fire departments got them. Everybody's got a helicopter over there.
Well, I
Everybody.
the reason why I asked about that potential change in flight path or whatever, I heard something yesterday, actually in a meeting, believe it or not, from somebody up in that area, and it got me thinking. It's just my thought. So many, and they brought up how a lot of politicians fly into
Sure.
Reagan. I mean, that's where they fly into.
That's a lot of the air traffic.
Yes. So now all of a sudden everybody's, wait, what's happening? Look at this flight path. And especially because they had mentioned that the day before a plane had to, I'm not going to say divert, but they just had to turn around and come back again and land the second time supposedly because of a helicopter. My thought process is, I wonder how many, now you've got Congress people and people of prominence, for example, but I'm directing this mainly towards Congress, saying, hold up a minute. I could have been on that plane. I could have
Yep,
been.
it could happen.
And I would not be surprised. That's why I asked Steve that question. If you don't see them saying, let me tell you what's going to change, a flight path, or there's going to be 52 tower people in there from now on, because it affects them.
That will likely change more than anything else. Because here, let me explain to you that radio thing for a minute, because Steve explained that to me. During the daytime, when the peak time is,
Yeah.
the helicopters are on one channel. They're always on one channel, and they're talking to air traffic controllers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he may be sitting right beside a guy that's talking to the fixed wing coming in.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they're on separate channels, but they've got two operators talking to them, right? And they've got control of each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
At nighttime or whenever it gets to be slack time at times, as Steve was saying, we don't know that at this time, and he's not speculating, but at times that air traffic controller is doing double duty. He's talking
Right.
personally on both radios, sometimes individually on both radios. sometimes together on both radio. If he pushes one button over there, he's talking to both the fixed wing and to the rotor wing, the
Yeah.
helicopters.
Right.
But he's talking to them. But they only talk back to him on individual channels.
Correct.
They can't hear each other.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
understand
So
that. Yes.
That
Yes.
to
But
me
I
could be
just-
one of the biggest problems.
Well, I just think Congress, because it matter, because now it's like this thing, what don't matter to me until it matters to me. I think this is just going to be a case where
Yeah.
you know,
Well-
Congress, all of a sudden they're like, well, hold up, because of, you know, forget about the lowly American who, you know what I mean? I'm not saying they don't care, but I mean, sometimes people,
They want to do it out of the convenience, not for the safety. They want
Correct,
to use
right.
that airport for the sake of the
Right.
convenience of it.
yes,
So-
but now they want to be safe for themselves.
Go somewhere else.
I
Go pick another
guarantee you,
airport.
Yeah.
none
Instead
of
of-
these flight patterns are going to change. They've been in place for years and years and
Your
years.
helicopter routes cannot change because
right.
of that one other thing that he flies for.
Yeah, I know that.
That's the route that they take.
But then if anything, what I think is going to change is they're going to require there to be, you know, 20 million, which I have no problem with.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you got to have a so-called tower, but I mean, those things are built with those little stations anyway.
I'll tell you what, it's much better to have a bunch of personnel in there to prevent a crash than it is to have to send out crash crews
I
to take care
Well,
of it.
you had one trying to do the job of two.
Well, we don't
It's
know
going to
that.
be a domino effect.
We don't know that, but that is a possibility. That's
Well,
the way it sometimes works
speculation.
there.
A
It's
lot of things
possibility.
coming out. Yes,
And let's see, I'm not sure who it is. You're live and local. Good morning.
it's Charlie.
Hey guys, I wanted to ask you a question about a news website.
Okay,
And can you identify which website said this? Ready?
go ahead.
Pilots had reported near misses with helicopters at Reagan National Airport in the years before the deadly crash. Which website do you think published that or posted
I have
that?
no
Fox
idea.
News.
I know Fox News was talking about it last night.
Yeah.
So
You know what's funny?
what's that?
CNN.
Mhm.
CNN.
Well, they're just trying to keep their jobs.
Everybody does the same thing. Now,
Yeah,
what
I'm
is
just
a near
saying.
miss? What let's hold on just a second. What is a near miss?
When you,
Oh, get off of it.
that,
We don't know anything about that yet.
A near
Okay,
miss?
these pilots are
No,
not.
no. You see, the problem is
Hold on. Let me talk. You interrupt me and you get mad when I interrupt you, so I'm interrupting you again. Now, what did anybody think that the pilots were DEI appointees? Absolutely not. You can guarantee that. Now, are you speaking of the air traffic controllers? Let's just get it out straight before we screw things over here.
So you're asking me a question, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I think the individuals on board that helicopter, I think, and I may be wrong, I think they were being trained.
No.
And go ahead.
Nope, they're not. They're not being trained. All pilots go through regular, renewal. They have to go through it's a training mission, but every flight is a training mission that they don't have people on board doing whatever. They're running through it. They had an extremely experienced pilot on board. They had another pilot with lots of experience, but they still have to be recertified. It's kind of like cops have to go to the gun range every year. You understand that? If they've been a cop for 40 years, they still have to qualify every year.
but some of them are just,
Okay, can I say something?
Yes.
I apologize. You go ahead.
They're not going to go through routine, brand new trainees on a night flight in that area.
You know what's bizarre? You seem to have an exact breakdown of the experience of the pilots on the helicopter.
I do.
For some reason, you absolutely think you know all their trainees.
Here we go.
Okay,
So
but-
you know everything about them, correct?
no, but I think people are getting hung up on the word training.
It's a training mission.
Yeah, it's like here,
You don't train people in a suburban in a city.
they
You
fly
take
over,
them to the desert.
stop right now. The osprey flies over my house every day.
Yes,
So
amen.
low it rattles the china in my cabinet.
True.
And they're just trying. When they say training, then let's just call it practicing, because they're just, they have to fly in situations where they may be actually in a combat situation be in. But the osprey flies over my house every single
I've
day.
got multiples
Yes.
fly over
I
here
mean-
and the 53s, the
Yeah,
CS53s.
they fly,
I'm
like
right there with you.
recently. I made a comment. They're about to land on my roof. I mean, but that's what they do.
Well, here, can I say something
Yeah.
very quickly?
Yeah.
So you send them out to the middle of the desert. You send them out to the middle of the ocean. You give them 10,000 hours of training. You make sure that they have an extraordinary ability within a fraction of a gram of a centimeter of a sand element to make a quick decision. They're beyond the best of the best of the best. I guarantee you these weren't the best of the best of the best.
But they
They're
were.
qualified. They're good people. No, I'm telling you. No, I guarantee you.
Okay, well, let's first of all,
first,
hold on just a minute. All right. First of all, if you're talking about the helicopter pilots, do
Yeah.
you know anything about them yourself?
I do not.
Do you know anything about the training that a military helicopter pilot goes through?
I know basic what a normal human being would think they go through.
Okay, well, you're obviously not basically a normal human being if that's what you think, because you're wrong, absolutely wrong. The gentleman we just talked to on the phone, he's got 28 years. He flew the president of the United States, two different presidents of the United States. He was the command pilot. He was the guy in charge of what they call Marine One, HMX One out of Quantico. Okay, he was number one. He was the guy. He's got a whole lot more experience than you've got. Even you've never been in a helicopter. The pilots that fly these helicopters, they're not like a private pilot out there who gets his ticket to go fly a fixed wing, single engine airplane up and down. They're not like that. These guys fly at treetop levels. You heard him, and this helicopter was in its flight zone. It was exactly where it was supposed to be the whole time.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Okay, what?
Who's at fault for that?
We're not going to know that. We have no way of knowing.
No, I already know.
Well, God bless you. You're a brilliant individual. Take it to Washington and tell them.
Charlie, who do you think?
Charlie?
Yeah, Charlie, who do you think's at fault? I'm curious.
Incompetent people are responsible for that.
Okay, but who? Like,
Specifically?
are we talking about the
I
tower?
don't know who. That's the beauty about me. I'm an idiot.
I don't think you're an
in
idiot.
charge of anything.
No.
No. Hold on. Wait a minute. Somebody is in charge of that airport. There's a lead person that says, you know what? The buck stops with me. There will never, ever, ever in a billion years where two planes collide. We're not going to have accidents on the tarmac because I'm a genius. That's why you put me here. So my job is to make sure that you guys excel and you're brilliant. No, you're dealing with incompetence. DEI. You have to put the right people in the position of authority. I'm an idiot. I would never want me in a position of authority. Anyway, so yeah.
According to you, you're a brilliant individual.
I don't think
because you've got all the answers.
But I don't know that I think that this is necessarily a DEI thing. Now, I have read that FAA thing. It's disturbing, but
Yes.
and I think that's something people are really going to have to look at.
Got to look at
very
it.
disturbing.
But we don't know that it has anything to do with this
But
case.
I don't know that I think because I strongly suspect practices like this have been going on a lot longer than we realize at a very smaller scale. And when DEI became like a thing, it just made it easier for people to do it without getting in trouble. But I think, we're going to find very quickly that I guarantee you, this is just my opinion, that you're going to see a big chunk of the blame being put on the air traffic controller. And it may already be behind the scenes. And now they're trying to say, okay, are we right about assigning that blame, or was it something else?
It's way too early.
And we know weather was not a factor.
Weather was not a factor.
No. So we definitely know that.
And both planes were where both planes were supposed to be.
Yes.
But did they get warnings?
And who would that fall on?
Hey, Sheriff, can I ask you a question?
You asked who?
You.
What did he call me?
Sheriff.
Sheriff.
I like it.
I'm not a
it.
sheriff.
I like it, Charlie.
I couldn't be
Yes.
elected to be dog catcher. Our sheriff is
No, I
elected.
like it.
No.
She's the sheriff. We're the posse. Go ahead, Charlie.
Weren't you the sheriff and the captain of the police force?
Nope.
No.
I was a flunky.
You were not a flunky.
All right,
Charlie, don't listen to
Okay,
me.
listen, okay. I like calling. I'm just going to call you sheriff.
I
I like it.
You
I'll be
seem
arrested.
to lean. No. You have a lot of right type positions, but you seem to lean very left. See, I lean very middle, but you lean kind of to the left too a little bit. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Hold up that T-shirt.
Yeah.
Paper.
I don't think he leans left. I've never heard him say
No,
anything leaning left.
Exactly
My
not
car
that.
doesn't even turn left.
You're defending. You're offering up potential explanations for what happened.
Well, you're
at
offering
Reagan
up
Airport.
garbage.
I think, Charlie, I think what it is.
I've already said that I'm garbage. I've already.
But Charlie, I think this is where his years of being on the news, on the TV news, I think that's what some of this is his.
Oh, is he famous? I didn't know.
He's famous down here. Well, he thinks he's famous.
You ever been to an airplane crash, Charlie? You ever been to one?
No, but
I
don't
picked
think
up a
most people
glove. I
have been
picked up
to
a
the
glove
airplane.
at a CH-46. That's a Marine Corps helicopter. They don't use them anymore. Back in the 70s, I picked up a glove at a scene of a crash up at Emerald Isle. I picked up a glove, the mitt that had part of the hand in it when I was there. That's how close that I was to the airplane crash. I've been to an airplane crash up at Cherry Point. I think there were 22 Marines killed in that one.
Right? Hold on. Hold on.
I've flown in a lot of planes. I've flown in a lot of military planes.
Okay, can I say this? Can I say this?
Yeah, now that you've interrupted me,
I
you can.
respect you. I respect you.
Charlie, no,
So you're trying to basically, you're kind of throwing some stuff at me. Anyway, listen, I don't want to go down that road. I respect you. I think you're.
But he's not left
as a human
leaning.
being. No, as a human being, from what I can tell, you seem like an upstanding individual, and the two ladies as well. Although I like Lee, but the other individual, I'm still on the fence about.
That's
You
fine.
said after she left
You're
over there, you said
warming
you
up.
loved her.
That's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, he's warming up.
No, she said, no, it doesn't matter. Listen, no, so I mean, I don't know. Listen, if somebody said, "Hey, Charlie, I respect you," I'd be like, that's a good person.
Okay.
Well, there were days in the past, to be honest with you, I had a saying to individuals when I was having a problem with them because they didn't want to go to jail, and I was telling them they were going to jail. If you can imagine what I was saying, you can either respect me or fear me. The end result's going to be the same. You're going to jail.
What? How do we go there?
What?
When I was trying to place somebody under arrest and they didn't want to go to jail with me, you can either respect me or you can fear me. You can respect me and we'll do this peacefully. If you fear me, we're gonna, it's okay. You're still going to jail.
Oh no, I'm just so hungry right now. Food just came into the studio.
It did.
I
It's
And
know.
we're
like
smelling it. Kelly and I are dying over
Theo,
here.
you're the greatest.
This is too little for me.
Well, we need to hang it up on the wall there. Hang
I
it up
love
on
it.
that side over there. It'll be
It's deplorable.
visible.
And for those that can't see,
Oh.
Theo had us food
We know it's
delivered,
Theo.
and he also had us a shirt made. It says "Deplorables 2024" with a flag on it.
I love it.
I love it.
At least
I
it's got our
love it.
flag on it.
Theo, you're like the greatest thing ever.
I
We love
know it.
Theo anyway.
Oh,
I
we
love
do.
him. Yeah,
And if you think I can fold this T-shirt up,
I can
Theo,
do
you're
it.
absolutely
I will
wrong.
do it.
No, we just
I
had to
can't
show
fold
it to
anything.
you. I know we didn't want to interrupt the conversation with Steve.
And there are so many self-proclaimed experts out there. I'm not.
I'm not either.
not.
Far from it.
But I'm just not going to let somebody sit there and just spout off, just like I listened to the experts. And it was put to me the other day, just right. When the networks, when there's a tragedy, a collision, whatever, a mass shooting, anything, they will get on the phone and get their little Rolodexes out. If you guys are not old enough to even know what a Rolodex is, that's
I
something
have a Rolodex.
you've
I
gone
have
through it
one.
because it's got all your names and all your connections and everything else.
Steve.
Steve's on the phone. I know because you called him out. It wasn't Steve on the phone.
And who?
Lee just said the word Steve, but she meant Charlie.
No, I said Steve's on the phone.
No, prior to that.
No, I said
I-
Charlie.
No, you said Steve.
Oh
Did I
God,
say
they're going to
Steve? Yeah.
fight in here. I'm going to turn the mics off. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Good morning, guys.
Bail me out,
y'all having a
Steve-O.
good I got you. I was listening to everything this morning. I really enjoyed the gentleman who was a former pilot
Mhm.
for Marine One there. That was,
He drives a
and
big boat
I
too.
agree. I liked it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I agree that I liked that he was being reserved in his opinion about what happened. I would say, if you look at other air collisions, most of the time it turns out to be pilot error.
I don't know that.
I don't know that that's it. I don't know that that's going to happen in this case. And the investigation will tell us more, but on average, pilot error is responsible most of the time.
I don't
I
know
will
that that's
say-
a fact. You say most. I don't know. That'd be 50% or more.
I was going to say, hey, well, look it up. Don't trust me. I always say that. Never trust what I say. If you don't, if you doubt it, said look it up. And I suggest you doubt everything.
I do.
But that being said, also on those Apache helicopters, that was one of the things I was willing y'all to ask him more about was the radar system on those Apaches. Now I want to go on record saying I've never flown, not once, not in an airplane, not in a helicopter.
Oh, would you like to
But I
fly
have
with me?
been around aircraft. Honestly, I would like to fly one day, but I'm scared of heights, so we might have an issue there.
Well, we can
But,
fly low to the ground if you like. That would just be really dangerous.
Right. yeah, right. But what I was going to say is I have been around quite a bit of aircraft working at their NADEP at Cherry Point. And at one time they had Apache helicopters there that they were working on for the Army.
Mm-hmm.
So I did get to see some of them up close. I wouldn't call myself experienced, but I have a novice understanding of them. And my understanding is that they have that longbow radar system that can track up to 16 targets day or night in adverse weather conditions and even behind obstacles. It can identify what type of aircraft it is, what speed it's traveling, and whether it's ascending or descending. So, that raises a question in my mind that both that helicopter, that Apache, and that pilot, because you don't start out in Apaches, was, that pilot was probably highly trained. It makes it real curious, or makes me wonder what series of mistakes had to be made. And it might not all been by the pilot. It might not all been by one person. And like Lee was saying, it may have been just the perfect storm of mistakes that were made to make that happen, because that just shouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
The commercial aircraft is going to have collision detection and avoidance systems, and the Apache would most certainly have that. It can detect and track surface-to-air missiles, air-to-air missiles, multiple aircraft at one time. And so, and I know, in a congested area like they were in, and all those aircraft that could have complicated things more.
Mm-hmm.
But those helicopters are incredibly agile, and it puzzles me how that could have happened. It really does. And but I guess the thing that troubles me is, like you said, is that people shouldn't be passing judgment right now.
Yeah, that's right.
But we have that. We have that at the top, at the highest levels.
We do.
That's
And,
natural.
I'm not going to call that out. Y'all know it just like I know it. And that,
I've already
that's
called it
just
out.
wrong. I know, but it's just wrong, and it shows, once again, poor character. In my opinion, it might not be yours, but in my opinion, once again, it's just another example of poor character.
Well, I'm not going to go in that direction, but it's the same thing that I've said before. When Obama called and, there was a police involved shooting in, what was it, New York or whatever, and immediately he blamed the cops. So we got to do something about these cops killing people. Well, it turned out he wasn't the one at fault. And then we've had other presidents to make all sorts of stupid calls and make immediate blame for something that really wasn't true or not even close to being accurate. Trump's done his share of it.
Well, he did it yesterday, I think, with that DEI
Those
statement.
were also examples of poor leadership and bad character. I'm not going to defend them doing that. It was wrong then too.
Mm-hmm.
But them doing something wrong back then does not justify.
Well, you notice I didn't say that. I didn't even hint at that.
I know, but
I'm not defending
a lot
Donald
of people
Trump or
would
anything.
Right. I get that, but I'm just saying a lot of people would take it that way.
Yeah.
If they're,
I reserve the right to blast Trump as much as I did blast Biden and blast Obama, and I blast Bush too, Bush Jr. I did that plenty of times back then. Wasn't on radio in those days, but I had my share of personal thoughts, and when we had get-togethers, we had sessions.
Right.
So that was one of my targets. And you don't even want to go to Bill Clinton.
Did let's not do
What
that
is
today.
is?
No, let's
What
not do that
is?
today.
That's the part is that, you know, I'm not hypercritical, but I am critical of all presidents. You know, none of them are perfect and all of them make mistakes. And I definitely think about all of them I don't like. I will say that the one we have right now is the one that seems to, you know, rub me wrong the most out of all of them, you know, and,
I'm not going to change your mind there, and I don't even intend to try. So,
well, here's the thing, guys. I try to give him credit where credit's due, and I've told people that. And Trump signed an executive order last week that I was extremely happy about, and I quite frankly couldn't understand why a president before him hadn't
they
done it.
gave a tax break to all people who play guitars. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about he signed the executive order taking the first step to officially recognize the Lumbee tribe in North Carolina.
Nice.
And that's something that, good job, Trump administration on that one.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that I agree with. But that's one. You know, but I feel it's only fair to mention that, you know, in trying to be objective over it. You know.
Okay.
So, but anyway, that's kind of what I was on it. I agree that, you know, we shouldn't pass judgment, but I also think there's just as many things that can make you ask questions about this as they can about that.
Well, I'm asking questions. That's the reason I had this gentleman on this morning. He's my brother-in-law, to be perfectly clear with everybody. I've known him for a long time. He's one of the few people I would jump aboard a plane with and fly with him, flying it without any doubt, without any questions. And others always have questions when I get aboard an airplane to go take aerial photographs and stuff. It bothers me at times, you know,
I imagine.
because we're flying low levels too.
It's like when we had that small little airport
out here.
right up here at White Oak High School when we had that
Weldon,
plane.
Simpson and Company.
Yes, I was out there.
Yeah,
and
I flew with Weldon a couple of times. I would never do it again. Well,
yeah,
obviously
I've
one
heard the
now,
stories. I've heard
but
the stories.
anyway, yeah, there are people that I've flown with, I will never fly with again. And people I've driven in cars with, I won't ride with again either. Kelly would be one of them.
You've never ridden
Just by
with her.
reputation.
You've never even ridden in the car.
I
with
know
me.
that because you've told me how reckless you are.
How am I? What have I said I've done that's reckless?
400 miles an hour in a 25 zone.
No, not in a 25, 55. Let's get the
All
number
right,
right.
Steve.
Coming out.
Yeah.
It's coming out.
I appreciate your call. You're playing tonight somewhere.
Party tomorrow and then 34 North on Sunday.
Okay, sounds good.
34 North.
Don't get lost at 34 North. If you go to 35, you're gonna miss it.
There's not a 35.
There is
Yeah.
35 North.
Don't take that left turn.
35 degrees north, there is a place. Okay, Steve. Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Bye,
Steve.
Steve.
Y'all have a blessed day.
You too.
Well,
Charlie.
I'm still going to go up with the whole. I still think people are, and I heard a newscaster say they're hung up on that word training as if the helicopter pilot wasn't qualified. That's what they're called, is training missions. They do it
That's
when
right.
they go to the field. They're on a training mission.
Yes.
When they take the boats out, they're on a training mission. But I think people are hung up on training as this he was learning to be a pilot, and that's not the case. Every day they go out, they're on training missions.
Yep.
When that's just what it's a military term. This is
Well, it's not just a military
No,
term.
but,
let me
in
tell
that
you, let me tell you
perspective.
what else it is in
Mhm.
flying.
yeah.
There are a certain number of hours that
Yeah.
you have to fly to stay qualified if
Mhm.
you're in the Marine Corps or the Army or anywhere else if you're
Yes.
flying. When that gentleman we talked with, Steve,
Mhm.
when he did not fly for a couple of years because he was assigned to desk duty at the Pentagon.
Mhm.
He came back from the war,
Mhm.
the first Gulf War, after doing stuff there, and they said they needed him at the Pentagon, so he was assigned there. He couldn't stand it.
Mhm.
But when he got out of there, before he could even go back to flying, he had to be flying so many number of hours. I'm talking about lots of hours.
Right.
That's a training mission, folks.
Right.
Well, any licensed person, doctors have to do
Same
so many
thing.
hours of training.
In-
I have
in
to do so many hours of
in
training. Matter of fact,
service
I got to get
training.
my butt in gear and get some done.
In
Well,
service
this come
training.
out
Yeah.
that the pilot had over 1,000 and the co-pilot, the female, she had over 500, which was more than ample.
Yes, but I was
certify
thinking
them.
they weren't These weren't two newbies up there. It's
No.
what I'm getting
They
at.
were seasoned.
It's just a term used,
Yep.
period.
Yep.
So,
Well, my final take on it is there's never just one single thing to blame for disasters.
Oh, you can blame one thing.
Especially when it comes to airliners, because there's so much redundancy built into the systems
Mhm.
that numerous things have to go wrong,
Mhm.
either simultaneously or over a period of time to cause a crash. TWA 800 1996 exploded over the ocean.
Well,
Transoceanic flight. It
Yeah.
ended up being a mechanical problem,
Are
a
you
mechanical
sure?
failure.
I thought they never determined that.
No, they have determined it. They've come back and have said it was proved it was mechanical.
You mean when that missile hit it, it knocked something out, right?
But within the first 24 hours, the speculation was a missile
It was
got
shut
hit by a
down.
bomb.
Wow.
Gale watch is in effect from this afternoon through tonight. Offshore today, southwesterly winds 15 to 20 knots with gusts up to 30, seas 4 to 6 feet, building to 5 to 8 feet this afternoon. Big ones near shore. Seas are going to be 2 to 4 feet, but the inlet's going to be so rough you don't want to go through it. They'll get bigger this afternoon, 4 to 5. Sounds and rivers choppy. Tomorrow, northwesterly winds 10 to 15, becoming northerly 15 to 20 in the afternoon. Gusts up to 25, seas 5 to 7 feet. Near shore seas 4 to 6 feet, subsiding to 3 to 4 tomorrow afternoon. And sounds and rivers, a moderate chop, increasing to choppy in the afternoon. And on Sunday, easterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 3 to 5, sounds and rivers, a moderate chop.
Today it's going to be partly sunny, a high of 74. It's going to feel warm, guys. It's already kind of warm out there, and it's 54, but it feels a lot warmer. I think it's humid. Oh, it's 99% humidity. That explains that.
That'll do it.
Today, the winds will be from the southwest at 7 to 12 miles an hour,
Mhm.
but they will be increasing to around 18 in the afternoon. And believe it or not, we could actually have 30-mile-an-hour gusts. Tonight,
A warm
it's going
breeze.
to rain, 90% chance, and we could get even up to a half an inch. And it says mainly the rain will hit between 1 and 5 a.m., but that doesn't mean that's the only time it's going to rain.
Take a nap.
The low will be 51. So it'll be a warm night tonight. Then tomorrow, it'll be sunny. The high will be 65 with winds from the west, 6 to 9 miles an hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy, low of 37. So it gets a lot chillier tomorrow night than it's going to be tonight. And then on Sunday, it will be mostly sunny, but the high will be 61. Not bad.
DEI. Do you think somebody, let's just take a combat veteran, comes back to the United States. He's missing a leg.
Mm.
Okay. Can he work as an air traffic controller? For
Yes.
instance, can he work as a dispatcher? Can he do
Yes.
what can he do? He can do things.
Yes.
If he could do them
Mhm.
with his legs, he could do them without a leg, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Should we make accommodations for that?
What do you mean?
Should we make accommodations for that? Should we make sure he has a wheelchair accessible ability
Well, that's
to get
federal law.
to get up to whatever? I mean, to work inside the air traffic controller, because he's going to have to be. I mean, he couldn't sit where my chair is.
Yes, because they already have that anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're a
Do they have
federal
that?
agency.
Do they have that to get wheelchair access at a dispatch center at the air traffic control?
They would have to have one.
Mhm.
Do they?
There's no way those
I've
people
never
could-
been
You
in
can
there.
have access to the facility, but
Mhm.
to work there as an air traffic controller, are they required to have access availability?
I would think yes, because of the Americans
So-
with Disabilities
So we
Act.
do make exceptions for people with disabilities.
Yes,
Well,
that's
yeah.
what the ADA Act is.
We make exceptions to let people walk into Walmart so they can get into Walmart through a door with a wheelchair, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We have ramps that are required for to get into certain facilities as well, right?
Right.
Yes.
So DEI, if we're talking about mental issues, and you're talking about that, and this is our specialty over here for you in
Mhm.
some cases, Ken, should we make exceptions? Should we have special accommodations for these individuals who might not be quick on the draw to be able to operate in positions that require you to be quick on the draw?
No.
So no special accommodations for that.
No.
Okay. That's the DEI that I think some of us have issues with. Nobody should have issues with somebody who's qualified to work as an air traffic controller or whatever
I agree.
with one leg
I agree.
and a wheelchair.
I agree.
I know a guy that works on appliances with one leg.
Mhm.
Is there a problem with that? He doesn't seem to have one. He gets around, he moves stuff
No.
around. He's okay.
Correct.
Uh, DEI, it's been blasted to pieces.
But
And in some cases, if you hire them just because they have, and there's somebody better qualified, that's the same thing as we used to go through in the 80s and 90s, having to hire certain people because of their color when they weren't even the best qualified.
okay, but I also think DEI in the last, I'm going to go between 2021 and now.
Uh-huh.
The I don't know if scope's the right word, but the scope of DEI changed with that, even within the previous administration. And that's where that CRT came in and all
Yep.
that stuff. Okay. DEI, in practice and how it was originally intended was to help handicapped people and those, whatever. That's what the original intent of DEI was.
Sure.
Its scope took a turn, like a
left
U-turn
turn.
or whatever. Yeah, a left turn, I guess. And it became, honestly, white versus everybody else.
See, now that's
But
wrong.
that's not, I agree 1,000%.
Got nothing to do with
But I
color.
also think but it also became sexual orientation versus everybody else. And I do not think
That's where the problem
that a
lies.
person's sexual orientation should have any impact on whether they are hired for a job. Not only that, I do not think that a person's sexual preference orientation should be identified by that. I don't care if you're gay, straight, binary, asexual, pansexual, whatever you want to be. To me, that should have no bearing on whether you can do a job or not.
Mhm.
But I also don't believe in say, hey, this is so-and-so, this is my gay friend.
Yeah.
I don't go around going, hey, this is Lee, this is my straight friend. Why are you putting that
I
distinction?
thought she was going somewhere else.
You know, why
Right.
do people have to put that
Right.
distinct, you know,
Sure.
if you look at headlines, you know, administration staff or hires its first gay lawyer. What does him being gay have anything to do with whether or
Nothing.
not this guy can do the job?
Nothing.
And this is the problem I've had. And even on social media, even with friends of mine that are gay, that are very hung up on, you know, the semantics of people being identified by the fact they're gay. I don't think being gay has anything to do with anything. I mean, I've never thought that, and because it doesn't. A gay person can do a job just as straight, you know, because what is who you sleep with matter? It doesn't
Right.
affect your job
I
at
agree.
all.
Mhm.
And this is a problem I've had with how things have kind of just gone so off course from what even DEI was. DEI was originally trying to give people with disabilities the opportunity to do their job. And I also have a problem. So it got brought up to me yesterday that some people use disabilities as a way to put them in the spotlight. And, you know, and I'm going to bring up something my daughter said. My grandson is neurodivergent. He has a disability. He's special needs. He don't even know he is. He does not even know he is. This kid can do whatever he wants, but he wants to be either a police officer or an architect.
Mhm.
I personally think
Love
this kid
it.
will do both. I just feel
Love
like in
it.
my heart and soul, this kid's going to figure out how to do both because he's just that type of
Mhm.
kid. But he doesn't know he's special needs
Here's my quote.
because we treat him normal. He's normal. He's normal.
Some people do not let their disabilities or their situation
Impact
get in
them.
the way of
Correct.
anything, right?
Yes.
Other people use those same
Correct.
things
Yes.
for attention
Yes.
and for, oh,
Yes.
Lord, you owe me.
And I think we're seeing
You owe
it.
me because I got hurt.
But we see it with, I think we see it with more than just, we're seeing a lot with sexual orientation, but we're also seeing a lot more with disabilities. But we're also seeing it with ethnicities.
Yes.
That doesn't matter. I mean,
You
look,
need to hire me because I'm, I've got 1/10 of an Indian in me.
my thing is,
That's what people will say.
I am one of those people, and I've always been this way. I believe in hiring a person for their ability to do the job, same as
Yes.
getting them into
Their
college.
merits.
Their merits.
Yes.
No, I don't think gender, sexual preference, religion, ethnicity should have any factor on you getting into a college,
agree.
you getting a job. I want to know that my doctor who's cutting a hole in me is qualified. I don't want my doctor hired or put in medical school because they are a certain ethnicity, because they're a certain gender, because they are a certain sexual preference, or because they are a certain religion. I want my doctor cutting me to know what they're doing and know how to do it, bottom line.
2 years and a couple of months ago, I was in Newbern. I got flown up there in a helicopter against my best wishes and desires, but I
But it
ended
was
up
good
there.
for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I got up there and I met a doctor because I had
You did.
a heart thing. And I met this doctor and she came around and she said, there are 4 of us up here. We were consulting over you.
Mhm.
And I this is what I think, and this is what they kind of came to, but they weren't definitive on their decision making process. They said, well, whatever, and we'll go along with you. And she said, what do you think? I said, well, what's your track record? And then one of the other doctors came in about that time, and I said, I just want to know, how many times have you done this procedure? She says, too many to count. I said, okay. How many did you lose? She said, none. And the other doctor said, yep, she's on 100% record. I said, you're my doctor.
Yeah.
Her name was Dr. Chen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I know exactly
Okay.
who she is. Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care where you came from.
No.
You got 100%
You don't care who
track
she
record and
sleeps
it's more
with.
than one person.
Just let
I
me,
don't care.
Yeah.
let me wake up. That's all. I have.
It's the ability
Wake me
to
in
do
the
her
morning.
job.
That's all I care about.
But I'm tired of people
Was it
being.
Jennifer?
I think it's Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer, what's up, girl?
So, thanks for holding, Jennifer.
Well, good morning. That's all right. I wanted to throw in a couple of amens there, but I didn't know if
Amen.
you'd been able to hear me, so I kept quiet. And exactly what Rayford's talking about and what y'all are talking about. Now, first, I want to backtrack just a second. And as far as everybody going off the rails saying, oh, it was a training mission, it wasn't a training mission. They weren't teaching the people how to fly the blooming helicopter.
No.
It's like Kelly said, everybody, they call it a training mission, and everybody's going to be recertified. I don't care how long my husband was a mechanic. He still had to go over to Coastal Carolina Community College
Yep.
and take those little classes that he could have easily taught for him to have that card that said Master Certified ASC Mechanic.
Real estate people do the
So,
same thing.
If you're a nurse, you've got to be recertified in CPR, all of that stuff.
Mhm.
But what I want somebody to explain to me is the Equal Opportunity Act. It was, and I hung the posters up every year when I was working at the pig. Equal opportunity as far as your race, your sex, which there are only 2. I don't care what anybody says. Your religion. It was race, sex, religion, ethnicity, and like handicap. You know, equal opportunity employer. The blooming governor of Texas is in a wheelchair. That doesn't mean he can't govern.
There you go.
What was wrong with that? Why where did this DEI morph from? I'm pretty sure, in my opinion, the Equal Opportunity Act kind of sort of covers it.
Yeah.
But this diversion, inclusion, equality, inclusion, and all that. And in my opinion, there's a whole lot of people out there that are just trying to see how far they can push the ticket. That's the goal in life. Oh, they wouldn't hire me because I've got this and this and this and this and this. Well, do you really want all that, or are you just doing it? Are you just doing it so you can say you're being discriminated against?
I think that's-
Unfortunately,
yeah,
that's sometimes the
just-
case.
Yeah. I agree. I think it is sometimes the case.
But I don't understand what was wrong with the original. I don't. And then you have ones, and I'll go ahead and get political, like the Biden administration, that wanted to make sure that they had. Who was the idiot with the bright red lipstick?
Oh,
and
that
red
guy.
dresses,
Oh,
and
yeah.
They arrested him for
Yeah.
stealing the women's clothing.
Suitcases.
And the transgender whoever up there, the man that wears the
I know who you're talking about.
women's
Yeah.
Yes. She just got-
whoever that is,
a cross-dresser.
RFK is going up for that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, he just wanted to, it was like somebody had a clipboard going, okay, we got one of these, we got one, you know.
The quota system.
And that, I just don't get it. But
To me, that's
as
attention
far
seeking.
As,
Mm-hmm.
do what?
That's attention seeking,
But-
Jennifer, because everybody, when that guy
Exactly.
got up there with that red dress on and that bright, horrific, cheap looking lipstick, because it looked like he paid 50 cents for it.
Somebody.
Yeah, whatever his
Saying
name
somebody.
was,
Yeah.
it was look at me because everybody talked about him.
Exactly.
Sure.
It was attention.
Exactly.
That was the only
And,
claim to
you know,
fame.
Hmm.
I wear women's clothing.
I have heard people on the news before that I didn't even have a clue, that have said, well, you know, by the way, I am gay. And they're not on there flaunting it. You shouldn't have to flaunt.
Can we talk about
should
Rock
not
Hudson for a minute?
have to put your business out there. Do what?
Can we talk about Rock Hudson? Nobody knew he was until he was dead
What?
or on his way
Well,
out.
What does
I'm
being
not
gay have to do with
saying
anything?
that these people ought to have to live in the shadows, but at the same time, I'm not going to walk in the Food City and say, "Hi, I'm Jennifer Blizzard, and I'm married to a man."
Yeah.
You don't have to flaunt it.
No.
For crying out loud. If you're qualified, then that should cover it.
Mhm.
That should cover it. It doesn't make any difference. But as far as, and I enjoyed hearing Steve call in this morning and give his expertise on that, because I did think about him during all of this, and I figured you would have talked to him, and I'm glad he called in.
You're
But
talking about the
as
Steve
far
as in
as
as in our
Our
relative Steve.
Steve.
Yes. Okay.
Our
We got two
Steve.
Steves this
Yeah,
morning.
yeah,
What
our
happened? What I missed?
But I really believe, and I don't know, but I think when all of this settles, I really think it's going to either be a mechanical error
Nope.
or flight traffic control. I mean, that's I really do. I believe that I don't think it was either of the pilots,
Nope.
in my opinion.
Nope. Heavily
But,
trained.
you know, that's just how I feel about it. But anywho,
Anything
I
can
just wanted to
happen.
call and rant this morning.
Anything can happen with even the most experienced and the best trained people out there.
Exactly.
So far,
Horrible accident.
so far, the tracking and everything else, everything that's been presented, nothing indicated that either pilot did anything wrong. So far,
Right.
what has been presented does not indicate that either pilot did anything wrong. Okay?
Exactly.
That's as simple as
And
that.
that's just that.
Okay,
I think they weren't told to go in the right place, or there was a mechanical error, or God forbid. And I don't even think it could have really been a medical emergency, because there were other co-pilots in both. So I wouldn't think it would be anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
But they'll get to the bottom of it.
They will.
They'll
It'll
find
take
out
several
that it
months,
was
but we'll get it.
horrible.
I
Yeah.
told you a joke
Yeah.
last night over the ham radio club stuff.
No.
Oh, I did. I did your joke about
Oh, no.
about eating groundhog. Okay, so here's one for you this morning.
Groundhog this morning. I'm frying it up right now.
Help! Anybody want to call and talk about anything else?
What do you call a pig playing tug of war?
Oh God!
Do do.
I couldn't tell you.
Picking it? No, that wouldn't be it.
Pulled pork.
Oh,
Thank you,
Jennifer, you Terry, I
Y'all
blame
have a good
him.
day.
I blame Terry for
It's
this.
all
Terry,
Terry's
I'm
fault.
blaming you for this. I
So-
told you he
Right.
would do this.
Anyway, so what else we got going?
Well, I
So
got a
we'll go back to
story,
the groundhog stuff for a
No,
second.
I got actually sure, but we got
Have an unknown caller. I mean, somebody new calling.
Good morning, you're live and local. Hello. No, that one didn't work.
All right. No, they didn't. And the next person on the line is Chris Marks.
Good morning, Mr. Marks. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
You know,
Happy last day of the month.
These pig jokes help us.
oh, that's
please.
right. Yeah, yeah. And sadly, the last day of the 3 for 2 wreaths for Wreaths
Yeah.
Across America.
Yeah.
This is it. get 3 for the price of 2, which is $34. And then starting tomorrow, we move forward, which is going to be $5 for every wreath purchase goes towards purchasing more wreaths. So still a good program. We're still going to be pushing it. And yes, good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. I'll be calling all of my friends there, Rayford,
Bring it on.
and Kelly and Lee, and talking about Wreaths Across America. And
Yes,
some other
sir.
things.
We're going to talk about it from now until whenever the cows come home or the pigs come riding.
Pigs had to get back in.
Our first fundraiser is going to be in May. It's going to
Yes.
be a motorcycle run.
Yes.
And we've got a bass fishing tournament coming up in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And we have other things. And soon you'll be seeing us out there with our banner that we purchased.
Oh, really? Cool.
We purchased a Wreaths Across America banner.
We'll need to get a shot of that when it's in place somewhere, so we can put it on our website,
We
our Facebook
hope-
page.
Well, thank you, because it has the QR code on there, so people can go right to
It's even better.
Wreaths Honoring Our Fallen Veterans the site. But I want to thank everybody once again, especially the crew there at Live and Local Real Talk, which folks, very very near future, we hope to.
We're
be able
working.
to
We're
listen
working.
to these folks on the radio. I do want to bring up something though. This has nothing to do with America. Something that people may have in common. This is way off of all the other subjects. Is
Good.
people need to beware of being too kind. And I'm not talking about me. Well, it has happened to me personally when my mother, God rest her soul, passed
Never
away.
happened to me.
You know, people who use the word, "Hey, I'm having a hard time. Can I borrow some money?"
Ooh. Borrow means
Borrow
you're
Been there,
gonna,
done that.
borrow means you're gonna give it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to give it back. Now, my children, I always tell them, don't ask to borrow money. Just ask Dad. Dad,
Yeah.
I need some money. And that's it. You're not going to borrow. But, you know, I know personally somebody had got me at a weak time when Mom passed away. And, I'm out $3,500 to these people because they're going to borrow money with the intent, I guess, of paying back. We're all very kind and giving people. Everybody is given to very charitable organizations and stuff. But when you're talking about an individuals, people, you have to be aware of those who are asking you money on the streets, those who are asking you money through the mail. By the way, Rayford, that package went out yesterday. Rayford knows what it is, ladies. He'll tell you later.
I know what it is.
Yeah, that one.
A
Okay,
Kathy
yeah,
pack.
that one. But I just, everybody, be careful of who you were trying to donate or give money to with the intent that they say, "I'll pay you back."
Mm-hmm.
There was an old saying, neither a lender nor a borrower be.
Wonder what would happen to these individuals if you say, what kind of collateral you got?
I'm coming to get your boat.
Yeah.
Right.
What would happen if you say, you got a gun, you got a motorcycle, something I can hold until you come pay me back?
Well,
Wonder if they go to a bank, that's what they're going to need, right?
Well, they need some kind of collateral.
Why is Chris any different than a bank in a case like this? If you're going to loan some money, shouldn't you get some collateral?
Yeah, when someone's getting you at your weak moment, again, that's when Mom passed away, and they're friends of your relative, and then that's when they start getting you. People, just be careful, so it doesn't happen to you. Money doesn't grow on trees, except
it does.
Go ahead, Lee.
You know what gets me, Chris, is the expectation of that person who borrows the money from you thinking they don't have to pay it back or they don't have to make an effort. That's what bothers me. I had a family member, a former sister-in-law many years ago, that had contacted me. My brother was overseas at the time. She needed like $900 something. Her babysitter or housekeeper had stolen her debit card and a lot of bad checks came out of it. And so I sent it to her, which I found out later. She's the one that wrote the bad check. She's the one that got her something. Never got a thank you or one penny back. That's what's hurtful to me.
Oh, yeah.
Is when you lend somebody something to help them, and then they disrespect you and not even making an effort to pay you back. That's when I write you off.
Got it. One and done.
It's very
That's right.
Yes, because the three of you there are very nice people. I'm sure it's happened to each and every one of you. Maybe I'm not.
Yes.
Pass judgment. I don't. But everybody, just be careful, especially those that are panhandling.
Favorites of mine.
Okay, right for them.
Yeah.
Favorites of
Yeah.
mine. Yeah.
I know there's needy people out there. My suggestion is go to churches, go to these organizations that are there to help you first, before you start doing these other ways of pinching people.
Agreed.
Lastly, I want to do on a happy note. Enjoy the nice weather for the next couple of days of in the 60s and 70s.
Nice.
But don't forget, 3 weeks from tomorrow.
I have it written down.
It's in the book. I got a question for you.
Okay. Y'all have a blessed
Well,
weekend.
I got a question for you first.
Yes, sir.
Kelly, close your ears. How did the pig write his novel?
How did the pig write? He hogged all the letters from the alphabet.
With a pig pen. Thank you, sir.
Oh, God.
I'm telling you, I'm driving to Tennessee. I am driving to Tennessee.
I'm riding with you.
What
Shotgun.
do we have? We have
Theo.
Theo, my adorable buddy. We are now the Deplorables officially. We got the T-shirt.
Yes, sir.
Theo, I love that shirt.
Oh, it's sitting
And
right
thank you
here.
for the
Yeah.
food. It smells so
It smells
good.
disgustingly good.
In 3 minutes, I'm about to eat it.
You're so kind.
Here and enjoy it, and we do a lot of things together throughout the year, and
We do.
I appreciate you. And we have our ups and downs, but
No, we don't. We have
that's
ups.
just to show that Democrats are different.
Well, people are different. Everybody's different. I'm different from other people
Yeah.
who are unaffiliated.
We're always
Let me-
defending you.
Yeah, let me tell Chris that Chris, if you take $1 or $2 and give it to somebody who's on the corner, it's not going to kill you. Now, if you go and somebody borrows money from you, $3,500, that's a different story.
That's what he's
Okay.
talking about.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
he's talking about. Yeah.
When somebody is on the street, especially a woman with 2 kids, sitting in the heat or in the cold, looking for a dime or two, it always feels good to give them a couple of bucks.
I agree.
Okay,
I agree with
and
you.
let's not go overboard on the people on the street. Okay, I don't appreciate America having people on the street like that. You know, I thought we were better than that. But,
Yeah, we are.
It's not good.
Well, let me
Let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
Dr. Rose, when you asked her the question, what did you get out of that answer about RFK, Kelly?
I think that I got out that she's saying think that he is qualified
pretty much.
for the job.
Yeah. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got that too, but I wasn't sure because she was rounding it off a little bit, you know, and I wasn't sure that she was going there.
No, I
But,
think she thinks
Let me
that.
ask you another question. ICE is going to schools. Are we doing anything about our schools taking kids out of class or waiting for them at the end of the day? Is that? I mean,
I don't know
Are we
whether
gonna do that?
has that happened. Have you seen that happening?
No, I don't think it's happened yet.
They're after criminals right now.
Yeah, they're getting the criminals first.
but are they going to let them go in the school and take a kid out?
I do
and
not.
take
I
them away?
do not
I
know.
don't
We'll have to
think
wait
so.
and see.
I think you'd have to have a warrant, and I say that because you can't even get into school right now without buzzing. The schools are locked. You have to buzz the buzzer even to get
the
in.
feds can get in.
Yeah, well, they'll have to still ring the buzzer.
Yeah, they'll still go get in.
But as a school, I would think the school would have to produce show me a warrant if you're going to take this kid out of here.
No,
Yeah.
not if they got
I'm glad they're not doing it because I'm not part of that. You know, I don't want any kid taken out of school or waited for after school to be taken or their parents being taken and the kid has nowhere to go. I mean, this is horrible. There's got to be a better way of doing this, but this is horrible.
Yeah.
But, what are you going to do?
Should have.
This DEI you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
The DEI?
Right.
Mhm.
Remember the gay guy that went into the bakery to get a cake, and the lady says, "You're gay. I'm not making you a cake."
Yes.
You know this country is racist. You know that. Okay?
No, I don't know that.
So
I know they're
that
racist
DEI
individuals.
DEI was brought up by Project 2025. Lee knows.
Oh, here we
Okay,
go.
Lee, you see
Here we go.
all those, all that stuff in Project 2025 is coming forward, don't you?
Nope,
DEI
I don't see that.
is all about the white people. Okay,
Oh no.
so I don't know what you're covering here. This is a very racist country because you have different nationalities living here. And the Greeks might not like the Turks, and the Turks don't like this and that. So you have a big, wide discrimination. Listen, the Northerners, the Southerners don't like the Northerners.
Of course not.
Over here when you're going around there, as soon as they find out the language, you got problems, right?
So what's wrong with with us not liking the Northerners? You got a problem with
You
that?
don't like them telling you what to do in your state. You're so perfect.
Absolutely.
I do have a message
what's
for
wrong
you,
with it.
Theo, from Chris. He heard what you said, and he wanted you to know that he does give to those on the street. He was misquoting himself, and he still loves you.
I love him too now that he qualified himself.
Okay. Gotcha.
Anyway, you guys have a nice day. Enjoy the food. And,
Thank you,
We will
Theo.
do that.
Uncle
Thank you,
Terry,
Theo.
soon, all right?
Thank you,
All right,
Theo.
thank you.
Have a
Bye.
good weekend.
See you. You too.
You know what? Okay. What a day.
Mhm. Well, I have to go. I have to go to work. I have a big meeting.
Why did the artist keep a
Oh no.
sty full of
I'm gonna tell you.
hogs? So why did the artist keep a sty full of hogs?
Why?
He needed the pigment. You're
See?
live and local.
Terry, you have. I'm,
Terry, you
I'm going to.
unleashed-
I'm going to Tennessee.
You,
Terry and I will have a
you
conversation.
unleashed a monster because there are millions of these out there.
Oh my God, Lee.
Oh, well, I've got,
What
I've
we gonna
got-
do, Lee?
I've got something I'm going to, okay.
Okay. It's on. It's game on, Rayford. Game on.
Yeah, they've got lots of jokes now about why did the radio host say this? It's on now.
It's on.
Remember, you are one of those.
You're the host. We're just
your sidekicks.
yeah.
So I gotta go to work.
Don't give us a raise unless you're going to pay for it. There's that same number again that called a few minutes ago. Yeah. Maybe go ahead.
And good morning. Hello.
It's a New York number.
Hello, New York. Are you there? Well, hang on here for just a second while you guys take your leave and go away. I'll just hang on here and see if it hangs up automatically or what goes on here. We just do not
Let's
know.
have some fun.
Anybody there?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear. Could I help you?
Wow, you guys still on the air? It looks like everyone's taking their headphones off.
Yeah, we are. We're off the air. What can I do for you?
Oh no, yeah, I'll call back to you another day. I wanted to have a little discussion, but you know what? I got my contractors here. Timing couldn't be worse. I'll call you another time. Close
Okay.
the show.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. I guess we'll make her mad again. You ready?
Oh gosh.
Where did the pig get his dirty car cleaned?
Pig wash? I don't
At
know.
the hog wash. You're live and local, real talk. We will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Be safe. We're always awake here. We're never woke. Have a good and very safe weekend, y'all.